what I do in the ceramics. Here I've included rusty metal. I collect rusty metal and would love to have anyone give me any. If anyone has any donations, I bet I would find a place to put it. And then other metal that I find and paint sometimes. Sometimes I fire the whole piece and then add ceramic pieces. So these two pieces have been added. This one, because it has a sculpture finish, which is not a ceramic finish. This is all glazed, and so I make the piece first and then add the...
Now, is it glaze or are they...
It's glaze. It's glaze, but I've been working on these glazes for over 30 years. And how that evolved is I would take a glaze that one would use for pottery that didn't come out so well. It was too dry, too matte. And I said, well, this is exactly what I need for my sculpture. So I would work with those because I like to have that dry matte finish.
Yeah.
So that happens in both of those. I have only 2 ceramic pieces here. But I just unloaded 8 more from the kiln, so that's my next project, is to glaze those. These 2 pieces are both collage and mixed media and transfer and drawing. A lot of the lines on here have been drawn on. The transfer is where you take an image. Sometimes I will take a photograph and I will inkjet print it, and then I will transfer it with gel matte medium onto the paper, onto which I've already watercolored. So maybe this arch, I don't know, could be. Some of it, because I use a combination of watercolor and gouache and maps and my own drawings. So this part down here was actually a map, and this part up here, which is similar, just reverse color, is watercolored and then drawn. So my mixed media has a lot of different things going on also, other than what Bob is doing. Here I've printed on paper I got in this wonderful art store in New York. It has a grid on it with string in between, and I was able to, after almost wrecking my printer, I was able to tape it down really tight and feed it through the printer and have it come out with things printed on it. So that's what these strings are on this one. And this one has, my daughter just got this new machine that cuts images. And I told her I wanted some fine lines because I like to do maps. So we experimented with that. So these little grid-like pieces of paper come from that machine, and this comes from that machine. And also on here is metal. This is screening, and there is transfer, because these 2 images here, this is transferred onto a cloth tape that's used to line some kind of coat lining, I guess it is.
Oh, books.
Yeah, it was.
Maybe it's
bookbinding. Oh, that's what it is from. Yeah, whatever I find. If I find things in the Goodwill or the thrift store, I try to incorporate them. So, and then this one also has drawing on it. So I use painting, drawing, collage, transfer, and acrylic. Then moving on to this one, same thing happens here. Some of these are transfer. Some of them are drawn or painted lines. Some of them are appliqued. Also, I'm trying to incorporate writing, because I think that gives a sense of the human element to the work, other than just being architecture and arches. I also try to get a sense of going into the space in each work, so that I try to use an arch within an arch within an arch to create a depth in the work. This one is a little different. The subject matter is, this is city trees. And it's a combination, again. There's maps, there's photographs, there's drawing, ink drawing on it, there's painting on it, and a lot of materials that have been collaged onto it. So I was trying to get a sense of, again, contemporary architecture here. This is Brooklyn, or I think of it as Brooklyn, because I go there often, my daughter lives there. But I'm trying to get the same sense of the human quality that happens within the architecture and nature as well. This one, again, is another mixed media piece. Arches within arches, and I've used, again, some of that machine cutting that my daughter has been working on for me. Treated metal, and this is all glaze. So again, I try to work with glazes that have a lot of texture, and I like to make a contrast of the matte and very matte textural glazes to the shiny, so I've incorporated some heavily glazed pieces here. But I find if I glaze the whole thing, it becomes too much like pottery for me, and I really like to have it more like a painting, so that's why I get into experimenting with the matte textures. Church, it wasn't a government building, it may have been a barn. It had this beautiful red quatrefoil design on one wall. It was a red, that color red, and when you looked into the quatrefoil, it was dark. So that vision remained in my brain, and I knew then that it was going to show up in my work. And here it is in this piece as one example. I maybe found, oh yes, it's in many of my other work. We're very proficient, Bob and I. We just keep working day in and day out, which we are compelled to do. We just want to do it, and we love to do it, so we keep making more. So I started out with that shape in mind, and that led to many pieces.